Hello, folks. Greg Gilbert, host of Python's Paradise, here to end the 1996 film reviews. And I picked 5 a month. The 5 I was most anticipated, what my end result was on those 5 films. And here we are, December 1996. The Christmas season is among us. And my thoughts on 5 films. If you're in the A's, you're awesome. If you're in the B's, you're better than you're one of the best. If you're a C, could have been better. If you're a D, don't see it. And if you're an F, you're fucked. The 5 films I wish to touch upon are Everyone Says I Love You, starring Woody Allen and Goldie Hawn. Mars Attacks, the Tim Burton film with Jack Nicholson and Glenn Close. Beavis and Butthead Do America, the animation with Mike Judge. And we have Scream with Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox. And we have Mother with Albert Brooks and Debbie Reynolds. I almost went with People versus Larry Flint here. Very close. And Michael with John Travolta, because I did see those in the theaters. And I liked both of them, especially People versus Larry Flint. But when I stopped and looked back, what grabbed my attention the most, these are the 5 films I think I gravitated towards the most. And I can tell you right now, People vs. Larry Flint is better than a lot of them. But I got to go with what my mindset was at the time and how it worked out. So we're going to go from worst to best. And out of these 5, the worst is Mars Attacks, which is actually visually a great looking film, as most Tim Burton films are. The story I have behind this film is I saw it on Friday, December 13th at the old Twin Cinemas on the north side of the river here in Fredericton. And what's interesting is that was the night that our 10-screener at Regent Mall opened. It was having its grand opening the following day, but it opened on the 13th. But I was across the river seeing Mars Attacks. And it was a film that caught my attention. Tim Burton, I like a lot of his films, a lot of them. And there was stuff in Mars Attacks I liked. But in terms of a narrative, I mean, I love the whole aliens take over Earth satire kind of take Tim Burton took with it. That was fun. But then it goes all over the place. And it's like a kid in the toy store is got to play with everything. And it's like nothing's off limit here. So, in the end, you have a great cast. Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Michael J. Fox, Pierce Brosnan, Natalie Portman, Jessica Parker, Christina Applegate, Jack Black, Danny DeVito, Rod Steiger. The list goes on. And they're all wasted. Lisa Marie makes a memorable cameo as one of the aliens, female ones. The visual effects are great, but it's not one of the stronger Burton movies. It's not his worst. I liked it better than Planet of the Apes, his version. But it's not one of his stronger ones either. If you're a big Tim Burton fan, you may want to check it out. I give it a C-. Disappointing. Certainly not a year-in worst film, but it was the worst of the 5 I saw this month. Next lowest is how do I put it? Do I go this way? Sure. Beavis and Butthead Do America, which I laughed at a lot. It's a very simple plot. They're missing their television. It was stolen, and they need to get it back, and they wind up in this really weird plot involving some dangerous device that they know nothing about. They think that this woman wants her to have sex with him because he said, but her husband said, "Want you to do my wife," which means kill her, and they think it means have sex. I laughed at a lot of the immature humor in this, them standing there snickering at a donkey taking a shit. The characters are funny. This is no Office Space, which Mike Judge did after this. Office Space is a better film. But if you're a fan of Beavis and Butthead, you'll love Beavis and Butthead Do America. I give it a B. Next up on that list is Mother, which I gotta say, I went to this film because there was something about it I could relate to. I mean, it's about Albert Brooks going back home to stay with his mother to kind of figure out his midlife crisis, Albert Brooks is great in this, and Debbie Reynolds playing his mother is wonderful. And there's a great scene in the movie where she's going on a date, and he questions her, and he goes, "We're not dating," or something like that. "We just have sex occasionally." And he's like, oh. It was great to see Debbie Reynolds. I loved her in Singing in the Rain. She was wonderful in this movie. Albert Brooks loves to touch on realistic human emotion and behavior, and finds a right comic niche on it. This is not a strong narrative like some of his other films. It's very sitcomish, and a lot of the supporting characters are very flat. But he's very strong in it, especially anybody who's ever had a divisive relationship with their mom and trying to figure out her upbringing, her rules, and trying to get with the times. You'll relate to this. And Albert Brooks and Debbie Reynolds play off each other well. I give it a B as well. Now, the next two films are great, and one's as good as the other, but I think the next one I'm going to mention is Scream. I saw Scream in the theater, and that turned out to be one hell of a surprise hit at the box office that year. And I'm not big on the sequels at all, but that first one, boy, what a shocker. I mean, Wes Craven already had a big hit on his hand with A Nightmare on Elm Street, and of course he did Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, Deadly Blessings, People Under the Stairs, Serpent in the Rain. He's done all kinds of stuff. And he does Scream. Which the writer Kevin Williamson takes the whole idea of movies being blamed for killing. And he really puts a spin on it. Drew Barrymore dies right at the beginning of the movie in a really creepy, scary moment that's a take on When a Stranger Calls with Carol Kane. And to kill Drew Barrymore off in that first scene, kind of a reference to Psycho, where they got rid of Janet Leigh right in the middle of the movie, that classic shower scene. But then you get introduced to a group of characters at the high school. You got Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox as a reporter who Neve Campbell punches in the face. You got Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Rose McGowan, all kinds of people. And they're all interesting. Jamie Kennedy with the all the rules of horror films. Of course, they watch Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. You got the interesting cameos. You got like Henry Winkler playing the principal in this, which was great. Linda Blair shows up for a brief moment as a reporter. This movie was scary, and it had an interesting twist, but it is extremely violent and quite graphic in some of the violent scenes. But I give it an A. One of the best horror films of the 90s, easily, hands down. It's a Scream. But the number one pick I think I'm going to go with is Woody Allen's Everyone Says I Love You, which is a beautiful homage to musicals. I saw that down at the Capitol Film Society that year. And of course, you got several subplots. You got a beautiful scene with Woody Allen and his ex-wife, played by Goldie Hawn, by the river or whatnot, and doing this dance number, and she's just drifting aimlessly through the air. It's a beautiful homage to musicals. And you got several subplots in it, you know. Goldie Hawn's trying to make things great for prison inmates, including making curtains for them. And you got Julia Roberts, who plays a therapist who Woody Allen's kind of locked in on. And you got Drew Barrymore in this, who's being proposed to, and she accidentally, because the proposal ring is in her dessert, and she accidentally eats it, swallows it. I remember that, and of course you got Natalie Portman, who was also in Mars Attacks, in this as well. Everyone Says I Love You is one of the most beautifully done Woody Allen movies, and he's always making a reference to something in the past, and this one here is his ode to musicals, and it's beautiful. Everyone Says I Love You gets an A. So that concludes 1996, folks. Everyone says I love you, but I don't know who you are, so I can't really commit to that. But you may all be a Scream. Folks, I shall see you in 1997 as I go through the year of films released then and check it out. But I will do a top 10 best and worst of the year coming up here. So stay tuned, folks.